They want us to fit this equation to this data set. So there's x is a variable and t is a variable, right? X is like where our y usually goes. Y equals ax squared is usually how it goes, but they put t in for x and then x in for y, and sometimes confusing for algebra students. So those are the two variables. In our final answer, we need to keep an x and a t because we need to have places to plug in these numbers. Okay. What we really need to calculate is this a and this b. And the way you can do that is by getting some data points. Okay. If I plug in 1 in for t and 2 in for x, then I've got 2 equals a times 1 squared plus b. And if I simplify that a bit, I get 2 equals a plus b. There's two different letters in that equation, so I actually can't solve right now. But what I can do is I can go get another equation by plugging in 3 in for t and 18 in for x. So 18 equals a times 3 squared plus b. Now if I simplify that a little bit by squaring the 3, I've got 9a plus b. Now that's an equation I can solve. That's a system I can solve because I got two equations and two variables. So if you remember from algebra, we can stack them next to each other, and then you could solve these as a system of equations. So the techniques we have are substitution, where you could plug one equation into the other, but you'd have to rearrange and solve for a variable to do that. Elimination is actually the quickest method. Look, if I multiply the entire top equation by -1, then I haven't really changed the equation. It still says the same thing. But now it makes it easier for elimination because if I add the top equation to the bottom equation, -2 plus 18 makes 16, -a plus 9a makes 8a, and -b plus b makes 0. Now I can solve for a. I eliminated the b variable by doing that. If I divide 8 from both sides, I get a equals 2. So I'm getting closer. I know that the equation needs to look like this, 2t squared. But then what's my b value? I can figure that out by just plugging this into either one of those two first equations. So if I plug 2 in here, 9 times 2 makes 18. So we get 18 equals 18 plus b. I plugged in 2 into this equation, and I'm trying to solve for b so I can finish out. I can get the other variable I needed. If I subtract 18 from both sides, I would get b equals 0, and that's okay. That just means I can simplify my equation. This is the equation that matches this data set. And you can test it. If I plug in 5 in for t, I better get 50 for x because it's in the x column. So 5 squared times 2, that makes 50. Our equation's working. This is the equation that we needed.